This episode of the Vietnam Veteran News Podcast is brought to you by Legacy Staffs, which are crafted by the Brazos Walking Stick Company in Waco, Texas. You can go to brazosticks.com and use the name MacPain, one word, at the checkout and get 10% off your next order of the Legacy Staff or cane of your own design.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Vietnam Veterans News Podcast. News of interest about Vietnam veterans from a Vietnam veteran. Now, here's your host, Mac Payne.
This is Mac Payne here with episode 1839 of the Vietnam Veteran News Podcast. News about the Vietnam War and the brave veterans who served there, as told to you by yours truly, a Vietnam veteran. In this episode, I come to you with a heavy heart. Another icon of the Vietnam War is going to fade into the distance, and that is none other than the old reliable M113 Armored Personnel Carrier. It is finally being put out to pasture, and they are bringing in a new vehicle to replace it, known as the Armored Multi-Purpose Vehicle. It all started back in the 80s when the Army brought in the Bradley Fighting Vehicle to sort of ease out the old M113s, but they hung in there. They're still being used today a little bit, but not for long. They are going to be relegated to either museums or the junkyard in the very near future. There was a story in the Stars and Stripes that talked about this sad event. I say sad because many Vietnam veterans, for better or worse, have memories of M113s. They probably rode in them, walked behind them, or worked on them during the Vietnam War. And now another feature of the Vietnam War is going away. I'm going to share the story about this event that appeared in the Stars and Stripes, titled Army Gets First Delivery of Its Newest Armored Vehicle. This story was written and submitted by Mr. John Vandiver of the Stars and Stripes. He does a good job describing the reason for the transition. Let's take a look at it. Dateline, Washington, D.C. The Army received its first new multi-purpose armored vehicle this week, marking a step toward replacing the Vietnam-era M113 that gives troops less protection than more recently developed systems. The new vehicle is known as the Armored Multi-Purpose Vehicle. It will come in multiple variants to carry out missions ranging from command and control to medical evacuations and mortar-carrying support, the military contractor BAE Systems said in a statement Tuesday. Finalizing the first AMPV for delivery marks a major milestone for the program and the U.S. Army, said Bill Sheehy, BAE's program director for the vehicle. Getting the new AMPV has been a top modernization priority for the Army, which is expected to send at least some of the new vehicles to units in Europe. The first vehicle delivered was a Mission Command variant that will improve an armored unit's ability to communicate while on the move, BAE said. The medical treatment and evacuation version is expected to serve as an operating room on tracks for soldiers suffering life-threatening injuries, the company said. The AMPV has demonstrated outstanding survivability and force protection as well as flexibility and growth for the future, said Jerry Tondreau, a BAE vice president. The company said it will eventually deliver more than 450 vehicles in connection with its 2018 contract with the Army. All those people up in Michigan who will be working on building those 450 vehicles, I'm sure, are real happy with that news. As the new AMPVs arrive, the Army will phase out the M113 Armored Personnel Carrier, which already has been replaced by the Bradley fighting vehicle for frontline units going back to the 1980s. Still, the M113 continued to have a role for support units and troops. It was designed with an aluminum hull to make it lighter for transport, while still protecting troops against small arms fire. But its vulnerabilities to roadside bombs during the war in Iraq forced the Army to look for alternatives at the time, such as the Mine-Resistant Ambush-Protected Vehicle, or MRAP. That's the type vehicle my son was blowed up in over in Afghanistan. It did protect him a little bit. He did live through it, by the way. Continuing. The AMPV has completed nearly 24 tests and has met or exceeded Army requirements, BAE said. Naturally, what you would expect to hear from a military contractor. This is what they say about the vehicle over on the DefPost website. Unlike the M113s being replaced, the AMPV is specially designed to support the mission requirements of each variant: general purpose, mission command, mortar carrier, medical evacuation, and medical treatment. The designs will provide mobility and protection that surpasses the level currently in the field in any formation and ready to support the Armored Brigade Combat Team as we move to modernize the formation with the next generation combat vehicles. Now you know the latest that's going on in the Army combat vehicle scenario. If you would like to take a look at the old and new versions of Army combat vehicles, go over to the podcast website, VietnamVeteranNews.com, check out episode 1839er, and there you will see a picture of an M113 over in Vietnam in combat condition. You can tell it's been out in a few rice paddies. Then you will see its replacement, the brand new armored multi-purpose vehicle. This one looks like it's in the command variant. They look similar. The new one just has a few extra doodads hanging on it, but it basically looks like the same shape. Hopefully the new AMPVs are made out of something stronger than aluminum. But go over there and check it out. You will see a contrast in what was used in the past and what is coming on the scene in the way of armored multi-purpose vehicles used in combat. This is Mac Payne closing out episode 1839. Thank you very much for coming to listen to this program. You are cordially invited to return again soon and often to listen to more coming your way on this podcast, the Vietnam Veteran News.
How about that? Ain't that a mess?